This week on Angelo's Workbench, we're building the motor for the Revell 71 Boss 351 Mustang, the all-new tool. This is great. Stick around. We're going to have a lot of fun. Getting underway now with engine assembly. I've got all of the parts here ready to go. I've got my collection of glues that I will use for this here ready to go. So we're gonna get started with some of my faller glue that I like. And I have all the instructions here just to go. Some of the parts are still going to require decals. I haven't decaled anything yet, but I have fully painted and prepped. You can see the detail painting is done. I've picked out bolt heads in various locations. Carburetor is ready to go. Excuse me. And so now we are getting ready. And step one is we're going to mount this oil pan on here, which is ready to go. And I'm just doing a little test fit, because I don't often wait to install the oil pan until everything is painted. I usually install this as bare plastic, but I wanted to be able to get the black back here by the bell housing. So I did not glue this as a bare plastic part. So I'm just kind of test fitting, making sure that it's going to fit, making sure that we're in good shape here. You've got just a little bit of space there that I'm not accustomed to. Oh, there it goes. Oh, there we go. Yep, the oil pan is glued and looks very nice. Looks good. So now we can go right to the valve covers, which are absolutely beautiful on this this new tooling. The valve covers are nice. And so this one is the one for over here. And everything fits so good. I've done very little gluing on this kit thus far. Obviously, I'm just starting out. But the fit and finish on everything is very nice. There we go. And I've done a little black wash, picked out some bolt heads, just to enhance the realism. And now we have these little chrome, well, I ended up bare metal foiling them, these little crankcase vents. I'm going to assume that's what they are. Yep. They are difficult to manage, these little things. There we go. And that looks good bare metal foiled. My photo reference showed them to be some type of polished metal or chrome. So that's why I did them in the bare metal foil. Yeah. And they are a little bit fiddly to get on there. There we go. Now I've got it. So there they are, and that looks the part per the picture. And I do not see any decals on that one. So then we can go over to the other side. We have the headers, the starter, and the oil filter. Now there is a decal that goes on the head here, according to this instruction. Decal number 1 and decal number 10 goes on the oil filter. But for right now, I'm just going to glue in place the starter, which has a really nice, a lot of times the starter just kind of hangs out. Sometimes there's a mounting tab. This one has a really nice positive mounting location for that oil filter. And that is kind of nice. It almost looks like a motor mount. You can see the motor mount there. And then you have a mount for the starter right here. And then the starter has this nice big tab that just goes right into that location, as you see there. And wow, that looks great. And there's no doubt about its location. It is perfectly lined up. And wow, good deal. Good deal. All right, so we'll go ahead and we can glue this header on. I just want to kind of take a look and see. Just do a little test fit and see. Oh, we've got two little tiny notches on the block and two little tabs on the header to put it right where it should be. But even though there's no notch, I always just put a little dab of glue on these other two locations because it can't hurt. And a lot of people say, well, how come you're not scribing the paint? And I'm like, yeah, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. This is not what I would call a high-stress joint. Once I put this header in location, nothing is going to be like pulling on it or yarning on it. It's not holding anything together. So I'm inclined. It is, however, hitting the starter, which is rather interesting. For a new tool kit, I wouldn't have expected this. So the header doesn't want to go into its location because the starter is in the way based on its location. So that is kind of interesting. What we're going to do here is we're going to kind of move this header around a little. And I'm okay with that. The header, I'm more interested in having the header in its exact location so that it lines up with the exhaust on the underside. If the starter got moved down a little tiny bit, that's not going to affect anything. So there we go. And now I'm going to come over here to this side. And we'll just put a little dab there, 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 and there. And we'll bring in the header. Plop it on there. Get it somewhere where I can work with it. Go on. Get in there. There we go. Definitely has a nice positive mounting location. And you can tell when it's in place like that. There we go. So that takes care of that. And then the only thing that remains is the oil filter, which goes over here on this side and also has a nice, very positive mounting location carved out of the block. So again, no guessing on where it has to go. You don't have to just kind of hang it there and hope. However, it does need a decal before we move forward anymore. So there are two decals on this step. Decal number 1 and decal number 10. This kit has no shortage of decals. There are decals just about in almost every step. Decals, decals, and more decals. So decal number 1 is the Boss 351 here, which is kind of cool. Powered by Boss 351. And there is one for this side of the valve cover, but there are two. So I'm going to put one on the other side too, even though the instructions don't call for it, because I think it'll look cool. We'll have one on each side, one on each valve cover. Whether or not that's accurate or not, I really don't care. I think it'll look cool, and it's my model kit, so that's what I'm doing. Like my friend HPI guy there always says, build your model for you. Build it how you want to do it. And you know what? He's absolutely right. I'm going to put one on both sides. I'm not trying to make this thing a museum piece or a show competition. I'm just having fun playing with model cars. You know? All right. So, we're going to need a little bit of water for these decals. We're going to get these decals going. Not going to go too crazy with the water on this one, especially because it is going on water-based paint. So got to be careful there. Those look great. We'll get this Autolite decal. I actually Googled online what Autolite oil filters look like, and they are in fact white. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to paint the oil filter. I usually do a lot of Fram filters because there's not usually decals. So I paint them orange, and sometimes I'll even put the black tip on the end for that sandpaper part that they have to aid in getting the oil filter on and off. And But I Googled them, and they're all white. So I was like, hey, you know what? Nothing represents white like the kit white, usually, the plastic. So for a little thing like an oil filter, like, I'm not going to paint it. I'm going to just let it do its thing. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of mark fit here, because I want this decal to soften a little, because obviously I'm decaling something that's round and not flat. And this is going to cover most of this filter. So what I need now is a way to hold the filter. It's a little bit fiddly, truth be told. Okay. Get this. Oh, there we go. I'll just roll it. Come on, roll. Doesn't want to roll. Oh, that got it done. All right, now you go like that. A little bit more. There we go. This is getting there. All right. Whoop. Drop the oil filter. There we go. Now I got this. There. That looks awesome. That's a great little decal. That looks so real. That's so cool. All right, so since I've got it in my tweezer here, let's just flip this motor over. I'm going to put a little dab of glue right there where the oil filter goes. And I put a little too much glue. A little bit off there. Okay. Oh, there goes the filter. My header has moved, so I'm just kind of making sure that it is in the proper position. There we go. There we go. Okay. Mr. Oil Filter. And I would say that based on how it's mounting, that the bigger part would go to the bottom. There's that. Wow, that's so cool. So cool. All right, so we'll get these little Boss 351 decals going. They go according to the instructions right here. Come on, you can get on there. Fighting me a little bit. There we go. Cool. I'm going to do one on the other side. Because why not? Go. Powered by Ford, Boss 351. And look at that Autolite oil filter in place there. That looks really good. Not bad at all. So now what we've basically done with this little gluing session here is we've gotten through step 4. So we'll set this aside and let that glue set up a little bit. And now we'll move on to step 5, which is our fan belt pulley assembly here. And there are, again, yet again, a couple more decals. Decal 19 and decal 21. So I've got my parts here ready to go. And looks like decal 19 is some kind of decal for the alternator. It might be easier to put that on after I glue it. And then decal number 21 looks like a fan belt pulley decal. According to its location, let's see if I am right. Decal 21. Where are you, 21? Well, that's interesting. 16, 17, 18. Ah, there it is. Sandwiched in between here, we have 19, 20, and 21. So decal 19 is a red line that goes around the alternator, which is rather interesting. I've never seen an alternator for one of these, but it must have a red line on it. So we'll just take out decal number 19. Also, given the size of this decal, I think I'm going to change my mind and apply it to the alternator before I glue it. Because I don't know how much access I'll have once it's glued. Come on, you can come off there. Alright, there's decal number 19 for the alternator. And decal number 21 for the fan belt is just a little label, looks like. You know, your fan belts sometimes have that printing on the rubber, whether it's a part number or something. Revell is very impressive with the kit decals, and a lot of them go under the hood. I mean, you got a lot for the interior as well, but a lot of them go under the hood. Under the hood of this thing is going to be amazing, which is why I'm kind of going a little all out on some extra details like bolt heads and little things like the metal parts on the fan blade, because I think raising the hood on this car is going to be kind of cool. I think it's going to look awesome. So I've got the fan, I've got this, I've got the alternator. Those are 4 parts. I've got the 4 parts. So decal 21 goes there. Let's go ahead and get it going. Get my water back over here. There we go. So, just put my coffee over on the other side of the room. Need some coffee. Sometimes I do this at very early hours, very late hours. So, you could say that Angelo's workbench is coffee powered. There we go. So so this is going to mount just like this. The big pulley at the bottom. And you can see I've picked out the pulley colors. I've got 3 colors going here. I've got some silver bolt heads. I've got some black Sharpie on the pulleys. That actually worked out pretty well. And then flat blacked the whole part before I started working it. And so what I've got here, and this is where it says to put it. So that's where I'm going to stick it. I'm sure it just needs to be in a random location. But why would you put it on the bottom where no one can see it if you have this extra decal? There we go. That looks great. And then the part that gets glued here is this one. And it has like a little half circle notch. Circle with a flat part so you get it clocked correctly. And once I push that on there, it is not going to come off. So we'll put a little bit of glue. There we go, just a little bit. There, that looks good. I think this makes contact with the air cleaner in some way, if I'm not mistaken. And then, let's see here, what else we got? We got to do the alternator decal. So the alternator goes, you know what, I am going to glue the alternator first. The alternator goes on this pulley over here. It also has a half circle with like a little notch out of it, so that you get it clocked correctly. There it goes. And that looks really, really good. Looks like it needs a little bit of a wash, and we'll take care of that in a minute. But for right now, let's get the decal going. And again, round part with a decal. I'm going to just put a little bit of decal solution on there just to kind of help it soften up a little and conform to that curve. There we go. That's very interesting. Never seen an alternator with a red line all around it, but hey, it adds to the realism. It looks good. And fits perfectly, I might add. Because there's like a little bump out on this alternator, and the red just goes right around it. So as I said, we need a little bit of a wash here. So I've got my Tamiya Panaline accent color. I love this stuff. This is great. Saves a lot of hassle and effort in making your wash. We made wash years and years ago, you know, 10 parts thinner to 1 part paint, and you made wash in any color you wanted. But with the bottle and the applicator tip, it's just so convenient. And I just want to get all these little black vents in the alternator. I just want to get them called out. And it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of oil on this, because this car is driven. This isn't a trailer queen. And if I had this car, you could bet I'd be driving it too. Let me tell you what. And it's funny, you know how your phone is always listening to you. Hello, phone. I have been saying, you know, 71 Boss Mustang, 71 Mustang, 70s Mustang. And now all of a sudden, in my Facebook Marketplace, up pops, you know, 70s era Mustangs all the time. In one-to-one, real deal ones. And I'm starting to think, you know, one of those would look nice in the garage. Yeah, because I'm a Mopar guy, but I'm also a Mustang guy, and then I've had Camaros, so I'm in everything. I've had a lot of Corvettes, so I'm into just about any kind of car. I like them all. So now we've got, I forgot to glue this fan belt, or this fan, excuse me. So we'll put the fan in, glue the fan. And then this gets set aside and assembled onto the engine after. So there's that. So we have a fan belt assembly. And then they have you build, it's kind of interesting how they do it. They have you build the fan belt assembly separate. They have you build the intake manifold separate. And then you put them on after the fact here. So now we're going to do the intake manifold. And what I think is part of the ignition system, the wire from that would go to the distributor, so that ignition, whatever it is, gets a decal 36. Of course, there's a decal. So let's get decal 36 going here. Here's 35, 37. Oh, 36 is just a little white square. At least I think that's 36. Let me be certain. That's 11, that's 12, that's 13, that's 36, yeah. So many decals on the decal sheet. You got to be careful. You're cutting the correct one. So it is just a little white square, probably indicative of some type of label. So that's that. It is a very small decal. I'm going to do it first before it disappears. Get this little guy going. There we go. So we'll let him percolate in the water for a second there. And now, so what we'll do is, because that is, that part gets glued actually last. So let's see here. We'll glue the carburetor first. And the carburetor gets oriented like so. Doesn't look like you can get it backwards because they've offset this tab a little bit, so you can't really get it backwards. There's how the carburetor goes. Now this is going to look awesome. I'm contemplating not gluing the air cleaner so that it can be removed. I think that will be cool. And then we have this has a half circle so that you don't glue it in the wrong position. There we go. And this little guy, according to the picture, the big part sticks out. Goes like that. Great. And I've done a little detail on there. But then, obviously, this decal comes in and goes right on the silver part that I detailed. There we go. We just need a little bit of, decal setting solution. Oh, it's stuck to the brush. And that is why I never do that. It always sticks to the brush. Here we go, I got it. It's just a white square with 4 little dots in the corners. There we go. The decals soften up. The decal setting solution works on these decals pretty quickly. Here we go. Just push it down a little. Sometimes nothing works better than your finger. There. And so there is the intake manifold all set and ready to go. That looks pretty sweet, if I do say so myself. So now it's as simple as putting the 3 assemblies together to create oh, and look, there was an option here, decal 1 or decal 2. But up here it says decal 1. Oh, so for the other side, you could either put decal 1 or decal 2. So there you have it. And I chose decal 1. I've already done it. Just out of curiosity, what was decal 2? Oh, decal 2 is kind of cool as well. So you know what we're going to do? I'm going to put decal 2 right next to decal 1. We don't have to have an option. My option is I'm going to use both. Why not? It wouldn't be a step in this model if there wasn't decals. So let's see what else there is. There is also decal 8 and decal 5 that go on that valve cover. Decal 8 is actually 2 decals, which is interesting. Decal 5 is some kind of serial number. Oh, this is like from when they built it at the factory. This is cool. So this must be like when it was manufactured. They have like a code on it. Like a manufacturer code. And so that's the decal that's going on the valve cover. That is amazing attention to detail. Revell is hitting it out of the park. So decal number 8 is literally somebody wrote okay. So it's like somebody like checked it. But there's 2 of them again. So I will use both. Unless this decal is called for later in the kit. You know what? Let's save that one on there, just in case. So, we'll get the decals going first, as usual. Then we'll glue the 2 parts on, and then this motor will be done. Actually, the one additional thing is they do have you glue one of the radiator hoses. The lower hose, I believe. They have you glue the lower radiator hose on now. So I will do exactly that. I will glue the lower radiator hose on now. Someone has said that I talk too much during these videos, and I do a lot of annotation, but if I put any kind of music in at all, I get license problems. So I just don't have any music. What else are we going to listen to? And this way you hear all of my thoughts while I'm building. If you're a new builder or just getting back into the hobby, I think all of my yakking could be beneficial to you. And if you don't like the yakking, you know, you can turn down the volume and just watch. I'm gonna move this one over a little because it was gonna bump into the 351. And just put a little bit of decal set. Wow, that looks super cool. You don't get this kind of detail in model cars very often. So this guy, goes, if I'm reading these directions correctly, right here. There we go. Nice. And the little OK. This is a difficult little decal because it won't slide off of this paper real easily. I'll let my tweezer get a hold of it. And the decal is virtually transparent too once I get it off the paper. There we go. It literally just looks like a little yellow dot. Once you get it onto the painted surface, it doesn't really have a lot of clarity, but it's there. Somebody wrote OK there in a yellow pen, and you can see it with a magnifying glass. All right, so there we go. So now the decals are all applied for the motor. That's a lot of decals on a motor. And so now we're going to just put a little glue here because we're going to glue in this intake manifold. And the alternator goes forward. And that just drops right in there. Boy, everything fits together so well on this kit. So nice. And then we have our belt and pulleys that are going to glue in like this. That's pretty good right there. And then the only other thing is this lower radiator hose that goes in, and I can see right where it goes into. Whoop. I forgot that the intake manifold was still loose. Can't really turn it upside down. Let's put a little extra glue in here so that we'll hold it. There we go. And then, you know what else holds it really good? My finger. There we go. Yep. And then that is so this radiator hose, you could very easily get confused at which way it goes. One of the mounting tabs is round and one has an oblong shape to it. The oblong shape is going to go into this water pump. And so we'll just put that in there. And now is a good time to do this. This is actually a good idea that they have in the kit instructions. And you'll be able to move it a little later on, I suspect, without cracking it loose. But I'm just going to put it straight for now and assume that that's going to line up. But there's always going to be a little bit of wonkiness for fitting later on. So, there is our completed engine per the instructions. That gets us through step 8 in the instructions. And there it is. And that, I gotta say, with the extra decals and the fit and finish of the parts, this engine looks fantastic. I'm excited to have this under the hood. So I'm gonna set this aside and let that cure. And according to the instructions, up next is the interior, which is where we will go next. Stay tuned for more. And as you saw on the screen annotations at the bottom, I do know that the oil pan is on backwards. I do catch it and fix it when I install it into the chassis. I left it in there because, hey, I don't profess to be a perfect model builder. I'm just a guy having fun with model cars. Everybody makes mistakes. I can't believe I did that. It was very funny. So go ahead, like, share, comment, subscribe. All those things help me out. Check me out on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, all under the name Angelo's Workbench. Next week, we're going to do the interior. I look forward to seeing you all then. Thank you.